excited you guys are here joining us today in this chapter of our lives and our love story. We hope you guys enjoy it just as much as we're enjoying your presence here.
Buenas noches, familiares y amigos. Les queremos invitar a que sean parte de esta historia de amor. Esperamos que lo disfruten. Well, we first met, it was about 6 years ago. It was in church. Actually, I noticed her, but she noticed me more than I noticed her.
To some people, they may say that I stalked him, but I didn't stalk him, okay? What had happened was that his family started coming to church. It was like around 2007, I would say. And they would come into church, and Jose and Maria were like this height. And Juan had like a blowout, you know, he looked really cute.
I saw her walking up and down the aisles like she always does, you know, looking down while she walks. But that was the first time we saw each other. It was in church. It was about 6 years ago. She caught my attention. She was a pretty girl. She was a pretty girl, but I never wanted anything. She was the pastor's daughter. It was something that I thought I was supposed to keep myself from.
And I remember talking to Mario and saying, we gotta get this kid involved, Mario, you're the president. Mario was the president of Holiness back then. So we went through this list, right? We stood by communications, and I'm like, it has to be Juan, it has to be. So, nothing. Mario tried to get him to come, Juan didn't come to nothing. He was so antisocial. Well, he says he's not antisocial, but he was. And so, finally, I would tell my dad, Papi, I'm gonna marry that kid. I promise, I'm gonna marry him. And my dad's like, Wendy, él ni sabe que tú existes. I'm like, yes, he does. My dad's like, and he only comes to church on Sundays. I'm like, so? I'm gonna marry him.
So, I'm glad we met at the time we met. It was the right time. It was the time that God wanted us to meet. And everything worked out.
What's that about Juan? Juan is definitely the most patient person I know.
Her smile and her dimple really caught my eye. And to this day is something that drives me crazy. That dimple of hers and that smile. She has a perfect smile. And her eyes, the way they get when she smiles, that face.
You know, in the Bible it tells you that the man should love the woman, his wife, like Jesus loves the church, and that's definitely how Juan loves me. Juan is so forgiving, understanding, compassionate, supportive. He does whatever he needs to do to make me happy. He goes over and beyond. I've never felt the love that Juan has given me before. He definitely has brightened up every aspect of my life.
Everything about her, but like every time she smiles, every time that she looks at me and smiles, her eyes, her smile, her dimple, it's different. Something that I've never seen before, and something that stole my heart.
So what stands out about Juan is the way he loves me. I know that a lot of girls say, oh, I'm so lucky, or I have the best guy in the world, but I definitely won that one. I think that I have the most amazing guy there is. Yeah. Let me tell you about our first date. Let me be clear about a certain thing. So we had been talking on Facebook for a while, on messaging and stuff, and I had some trouble with math. It was my last college class that I needed to take, and
she was complaining about her math, telling me that she's having issues and she was having a test soon that same week. I was like, I can help you. You know, I can do that.
And I was like, all right, you know, this guy, you know, he's in law school, he has to be smart, you know. Wouldn't you think, right? Wrong, okay? We went to traditions. First of all, I was so nervous. I was sitting in the spot where, it's the same spot where he asked me out at, actually.
I get out of my car, I see her sitting there trying to study. You know, she was being nervous. She was nervous, really. She couldn't study.
And I see him walking towards me and I was freaking out. First of all, my eyebrows were not done. My nails weren't done. I was freaking out because I was like, maybe he's not gonna like me.
Just thinking about me getting there, she was all jittery. So I was walking towards her, and I'm seeing her, and I'm like, this is nice. First time I'm really gonna talk to her, you know. I was determined to help her, but it had been a while since I've done math, so I didn't remember much.
And I'm like, all right, this is what I'm having trouble with. And the math book was already open, and he looks at it with like this blank stare. So he's like, hold on, let me see what it is. So he's going through the chapter. He didn't know nothing, okay, nothing. He could not explain to me nothing. I was like, are you serious? He calmed me, because he knew he didn't know nothing.
So we spent about 10, 20 minutes there, just sitting there, me trying to figure out with the book what we were gonna do. Didn't work out. Didn't work out at all. She blames me, but that I didn't know how to do it, but I think it was a blessing to her that I was able to help her. So I was there, and then we just started talking. We spent about an hour there talking, and we met like around 10:30.
It was about 12 o'clock when we met. I know that for a fact because I was on the phone with Shayla, and she was about to go on lunch, okay? So we met at 12, and we stood there till like 1, and then he was like, I was saying bye to him, and he was like, well, let me, you wanna go eat something? You know, let me take, I know you like Mexican. Trying to tell me like, oh yeah, pay attention when you talk. And I was like, yeah, and I'm thinking he's gonna say Pueblo Viejo or something. He's like, Chipotle. Chipotle's your fast food Mexican place, but it's cool. It's cool.
So I was like, you know, you like Mexican food, and I know you know, so let's go to Chipotle. So we went to Chipotle, and we ordered, we sat there, and we talked. We talked and talked. I've never talked to anybody that long. I don't like talking.
We went there, and we stood there from 1 to 5 o'clock, and the only reason we left was because I had school at 5:30.
If not, we would have stayed there because we had so much more to talk about that we could have stayed there for another 5 hours until they closed. But I really enjoyed it. It really got me to see the different side of the girl that I used to see walk up and down the aisles in church. You know, they used to stalk me and give me those smiles every time she walked. And it was cool. It was a cool date. I think of all our dates, that's in my top 5, you know, because it was interesting getting to know her and being able to interact with that girl. What made me wait? Well, we started talking in the summer, after my first year of law school. We started to get to know each other. We started to, you know, go out here and there, and I really liked her. I knew she was leaving. She was going to ministry school. She was going to Ignite, and she didn't want to. She said, no, I'm leaving. But for some reason, I thought I had to wait. I knew that she was different.
He's like, I'm gonna wait for you. And I'm like, boy, you don't know if I'm crazy or something. He's like, no, I know. And he said, he probably doesn't remember, but he's like, I know I'm gonna marry you. He tries to say he doesn't, but he did say that. And I was like, this kid is psycho. This kid is psycho, because I wasn't even thinking of that. I'm trying to go to school. So
she said that it wasn't gonna work out because she's gonna be in Ignite. She wasn't gonna be able to do anything. We weren't gonna be able to talk. And I told her, we'll be fine. You know, we'll be fine. I'll wait. I'll be there. I'll be there for you. And when you come back, if you don't feel the same way, then okay, I'll move on. But I'm pretty sure you will. I'm pretty sure you're gonna be there, and we're gonna be fine and move on and have a relationship.
But when I left to school, knowing that he was waiting, it made me like him more. I would continue to pray for him when I was in school, and
I prayed about it, and my heart said that I should. My mind said that I should, and I wasn't scared. I was confident. I was ready. I felt good about my decision. I didn't have any doubts in my heart at all. So I did it. I waited, and I'm happy I did. When did I realize I loved her?
There was a couple times that I fell for him. But it was that winter that I came back from McKnight, from the School of Ministry, and
October 1st, I started thinking about everything and my feelings, and I'm like, I think I kind of love this girl. So it was on a Saturday. I emailed her. No, it was on a Friday. She was in Orlando, selling shoes for Ignite. It was through an email, very romantic. I told her, you know, hope you're doing well and all that. And finally I told her that I loved her, that I've been thinking about it and I loved her. And I was gonna wait for her no matter how long I had to wait.
The way I planned it, it was gonna be a treasure hunt. And I said, if this kid had waited for me for so long, you know, he has to be something special. So what I did was I had him go to the different places. Our first date, which was in Traditions, and to our, well, this one of our dates, he had it in the park. In this park, he did a nighttime dinner, kind of picnic kind of thing. So that was one of the places that I had him go. And then the third place was the Barn Theater, which was our first kiss. And when he went to the Barn Theater, which was the last stop, I was there. I was in my car, and there was 2 treasure chests on the trunk of my car. And he didn't know I was in my car. And it said, the note on there said to choose one, okay? And I'm like, I hope he chooses the right one. Because in one was his Christmas present, because it was on Christmas time, which was a watch. Juan loves watches. So I got him a watch, and then the other one was a glass heart. And it was me giving him my heart to tell him that I loved him for the first time. Oh my God. That one, I think I've never been that nervous. I love to act. I'm in dramas all the time. But to tell Juan that I loved him, it took a lot, because I knew that he'd be the last person I would say it to. And I said it like, I kind of sort of think I love you. That was the first time I told Juan that I loved him. And when I told him and actually said it, that's when I knew that I really meant it.
Oh my God, the proposal. That was hectic. Well, I had the ring since January of 2013. And I thought about doing it when I came down in February. Then I was like, why am I gonna do that? I mean, I had to talk to my parents, I had to talk to her parents, and then I do it and then I have to go back for another month and a half to Lansing. So I was like, it's not worth it. I'm not gonna do that, you know, give her that excitement and then take it from her because I'm leaving.
Juan graduated school, law school, and we both wanted to be engaged after he graduated and he had a job. And God blessed him, he had a job right when he graduated. And I was expecting it to be sometime this year, the year 2013.
It worked out perfectly, May 27th, Labor Day, and it was hectic. You know how she is. She wants everything to be different and magical and special and better than everybody else's. So it was something that I had to think about. It was something that I had to work hard, and it took a toll, but thank God for her friends. You know, Shayla, Leticia, and Perla that know her so well. Labor Day was on a Monday, and we planned everything in that time frame of 3-4 days, and it came out good. It was stressful because I think she was waiting for it.
But that Sunday we went to go to iPic Theaters and we saw a movie. And I'm thinking he's gonna propose, and no, he didn't. Nothing happened. So that Monday, we had a family gathering that I had planned, right? With my family, Shayla's family, his family. We're all gonna cook in Cindy's house. And I'm like, if he's gonna propose here. But I wasn't really thinking about it. Nothing happened, everybody left. I was not a happy camper. I was tired, I wanted to go home, I had homework. So Perla is like, oh, let's go to Mulligan's, I'm leaving soon, I wanna eat something there. I was like, you guys can go. I don't want to go. She's like, oh my God, Wendy, you're so whack. Come. I said, well, I'm not driving. She was like, that's fine. Shayla usually doesn't want to drive because she drives everywhere. So I was like, but I didn't think about it. So I was like, all right, let's go. So I go into Mulligan's and we're sitting and I'm mad. So I'm so mad and I'm looking at the menu and all of a sudden this person goes, Wendy? And they look up and I'm like, yes. You know, I had the stank face, you know what I mean? And she goes, this is for you. And she gives me a rose and I'm like, the heck? Thank you. Then 22 people after started coming. Kids, moms, dads, saying, Wendy, you're beautiful. Wendy, you're so gorgeous. Wendy, this is for you. Oh my God, I'm so excited for you. I'm like, what is going on?
It was 24 roses, individual roses. The 24th rose was in the box. It was a yellow rose. 24 roses was, 12 months, 24 months, 2 years that, everything started. And Eddie and my brother were outside the restaurant and gave it to individual people, rose. So people just started going towards her, giving her roses.
And then this guy comes with this box and he's like, Wendy, this is for you. And I open it and in there is a scarf and it's a yellow rose and it's a note from him. And it said, babe, happy 2-year anniversary, because our 2-year anniversary was May 23rd. That was our first date. So he's like, I hope you're ready to take the next step because I am. Something like that. And he's like, please let the girls put the scarf on you and take you. And I'm like, what? I didn't even get to think about it because the girl stood up and closed my eyes, wrapped the scarf around me so I couldn't see. Everybody's cheering as we're leaving, screaming. And then they take me to the car.
So they got to Stewart and she was blindfolded throughout the way. And then there was this dock where basically it's the last dock. And it's kind of like a peninsula where, it's surrounded by water on the sides. So
then all of a sudden they took off the scarf and I see the Amaros, Mike, Stephanie, Eddie, and my whole family and his family just lined up with signs, and music was playing, candles, and the sun was setting. And I was like, oh my God, he's really doing it.
And she had to walk, through them and read the signs. So each sign said something different, like, you're my beyond forever.
And I was like crying and running, and my mom was like, pero lea la carta, léalo. I'm like, I am reading. I'm like, but I want to get to him.
The last two were, I'm ready. And then my brother had the last one, because he's so tall, he covered me. And it said, or you.
So finally, as I'm getting to him, Jose is like tall, and so I couldn't see him. And I'm like, get out my way. And I finally see him, and I'm like trying to read the last letter. And I'm like laughing and crying at the same time because I'm like, oh my goodness. And the wind was so strong because we were right on the water. He's like, I can't wait to wake up next to you and sleep next to you every day. And
2 years ago on Labor Day, you told me not to wait, and I told you everything was gonna be fine. And I got on one knee and I asked her to marry me. And it took her a while. I think she thought about it a little bit. She said she didn't, but I think she did. And she was crying or laughing, I don't know. I couldn't tell. I think it was both. And she said yes. She said yes, and that's my top one. The day she said yes, it changed my life.